Okay. Our snow is ready.
I'll be in here when I get
Good morning, Laura. Morning, Laura. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. How's that foot?
Oh, let me tell you, I am so excited. A week from tomorrow, I get to go in. He takes off my boot, and I get to start driving.
Awesome, awesome. Tell the whole group that when we talk with everybody.
Okay.
That's wonderful. Good morning, Jerry. Morning, Jerry. Jerry, you there? Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, Dennis.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you too.
I didn't know all about the Cox School of Business guys. I didn't know that I have no idea of the ancestry of Michael Cox, but
well, I was just blown. I mean, yeah, his resume is very impressive. Let me just put it that way.
Well,
and I went, oh my! But I wasn't able to reach him by phone, but I did send him an email, and
that's fine.
I did talk to Maria. Okay.
Wonderful. That's all. That's all. And you only have to talk to one of the family members. Just check on them. But that's over. You're doing over and above. So that's wonderful.
That's okay. My pleasure. Believe me, I have plenty of time. Okay.
Good. Good.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning,
How are
Laura.
Hi.
How was your travels yesterday, Dennis?
Well, it was good. It was not much traffic, and we're in an Airbnb.
Okay.
We brought food, so we don't have to go shop anywhere. And we're going to use Instacart to bring in food, so we don't have to go shop anywhere. And we were doing Airbnbs everywhere.
That's right.
And everyone was wearing masks, and it was nice.
Yeah. So where were you last night?
We're in Amarillo right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we're halfway there, and we're going to go tiptoe across New Mexico without spending the night, so we don't have to stay 14 nights. So, yeah.
Good. I was worried about that, you know.
Yes. So anyway, we're doing good, and Laura's going to be in here in a minute. She's getting set up. But any rate, we're going to head out and then go to Colorado Springs for 2 days, and then to Estes Park for 3 days, and then head back.
Oh.
And then it's 63 in Amarillo. It's supposed to be 84 here today, but next weekend it's supposed to be 102 here and the same in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Dennis,
Yes.
you're at Sunday school. You shouldn't gloat.
That's right.
No, I'm not gloating. I'm telling you how hot it's going to be.
But you're
Laura
not
Snow,
going to be
we've
here,
got you
right?
coming in again. We got you coming in again, Laura Snow. Is that
Yes.
okay?
So, Dennis, how long are you going to be in Colorado Springs?
2 days in Colorado Springs. We're going to see the Air Force Academy and the Garden of the Gods, and then we're just a drive-by on the Air Force Academy, but just show the boys. But then we're going to do Garden of the Gods so they can do some running around, and then we'll head on to Estes Park.
Good deal. Good deal. Oh, that's going to be incredible.
I hope it's going to be fun. We're just going to try to stay safe. It's everybody's wearing masks. Even the little boys got to have their masks, so
Good.
it's a good thing.
You can do it. You can do it. You know, there's a way to do it. You just
Yeah, like I say, the Instacart I think is going to be a good way. Our daughter uses that all the time to get food delivered in, so we won't have to go grocery shopping. So it'll have it delivered to us, so that'll be good.
Yeah. Sometimes you get, like, I ordered bananas at Target, and she brought me like 8 or something. You know, it's hard for one person to eat bananas in a week.
That's quite a substitution.
I usually share them, you know.
Yes.
Got a lot of good neighbors.
Yes.
Dennis, have you been to Colorado Springs previously?
Yes.
I mean, it's wonderful. Stan and I loved going to Colorado Springs.
It is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city.
Oh, it is. It's so much fun.
When I was 6 years old, and when I was allowed to go on the family vacation, hadn't had to stay home with grandmother. My first vacation was to Estes Park. And so I've been back since, but that was a neat time for me because I got to do my big thing on there. I was counting train cars when they go down the train car. I got to count number of cars on the track. So
yeah, right.
That was a fun thing.
Yeah, right.
Somebody yesterday, took a picture of a hawk day before yesterday that lit on my fence, my back fence.
Oh, wow.
And somebody responded to me and said, I sent it to some friends, and they said, that's our thing when we're traveling. We count hawks.
Wow.
That's great. That's great. That's a good thing.
But Jim was visiting. There's a group of men that get together for breakfast and they social distance in somebody's front yard. And our neighborhood has a lot of the little flags stuck in the ground. And a hawk swooped down and grabbed one of the flags and took it up into the tree.
Oh, that's funny.
Couldn't figure out, I guess, how to make a nest out of it, so he just dropped it.
I wish I'd have gotten a picture of that.
They tried and they could not get, they couldn't get it. I guess he didn't sit long enough, or she.
They're so fast. They're so fast.
Well, we've been seeing hawks too.
Really?
One day we had 4 hawks in our backyard.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And then the day after that, I went out there and the fence between our neighbor Roger and us had a baby hawk on it. We had heard them beeping, talking, and it was really interesting because the hawk had this baby had all these tail feathers, but it had like soft down all over its breast and stuff.
Good night. That's amazing.
And I got pictures.
They can look pretty bedraggled for a while. It's like that awkward age for our teenagers, like 11, 12 or something.
Sherry knows all about that age.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning,
Joyce.
Hey, Joyce.
Hi.
How's Ken doing, Joyce?
He's doing really well. He actually went to one of my grandson's baseball games at 8 o'clock.
Wow.
How about that?
Yes, he's been playing in the afternoon a lot, and Ken said we both. I can't take the heat. And
The heat's it's killer.
Mm-hmm.
it is, and I'm on blood pressure meds, and it makes me, when I'm out in the heat, it makes me kind of sick to my stomach.
Oh.
So I don't go unless I have to.
You just don't need that, do you?
No.
No.
Dennis, how's the weather in Colorado?
It's 100, yeah.
Well, we're in Amarillo right now. We decided to break the trip in half for the boys so they wouldn't die in the back seat. So we are in Amarillo, headed to Colorado Springs this afternoon or tonight. We're going to stop at Capulan Mountain, the volcano in north. It's an inactive volcano in north New Mexico. And we'll swing by there and get up a chance to run around, and we'll then head on to Colorado Springs, and then 3 days in Estes Park, and then we'll head back next Friday back to Amarillo, and then home on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Dennis, be sure
Yes,
and
ma'am.
watch out for hummingbirds. They have a lot in Colorado.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
Laura.
Hi. Hi.
Laura's
Doing well.
vacation mode. I can tell. She's just ready to vacation.
That's right.
Get out of Dodge, right?
That's right.
Dennis,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you'll get out this far, but the Air Force Academy, it also is in.
Yes. That's what we're going to do in Colorado
Yeah,
Springs.
boy,
Air Force
that might be
Academy.
of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, Air Force Academy and Garden of the Gods. We'll just show
Yeah,
them. We'll
right.
just do a drive-through. We won't get out of the car, of course. But and Vicki, you can also let people in if you want
Okay.
when you see them there.
Okay. I
I've
was
got
wondering,
those two.
I thought, you must be doing that, and I hadn't seen that before. There's a green at the bottom. It says share the screen. So
Yeah. Yeah, that would show your desktop if you wanted to do that.
I'll try it and see what happens. Okay.
Well, it'll just show your desktop to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit. Good morning, Diana. How are you? we've had two new people have joined our emails on Foundations of Faith, and that's Linda Garner, because she wants to check up on everybody and see how people are doing. And also Jessica Capps, because she's one that's kind of our overarching church leader in this, and so she wants to do that too. So you're going to see her name if you on some emails going by. If you say, "Good morning, Kay, how are you?" So anyway, that'll be something new on that particular one. And also Darren has said there are some Sunday school departments who are trying to figure out what to do. It's possible we might have new Sunday school, them drop in on us for Sunday school lessons. And if we do, we just may have to do a quick brief reading at first, but we'll see, because apparently there's some Sunday school departments who are not meeting right now. And it's possible that some could join us, Epiphany, Discovery, some of the other ones like that. So we'll just see how it goes. He just gave us a heads up. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm telling you more than I know now. So that's what Darren said. So we'll go from there.
Excuse me, Dennis, did you add Jessica? Because when I tried to get on, the other day, just to add them or to practice, it wouldn't let me on, because.
Yeah. I think you either have to start a new meeting, or you have to the church has got to make you a host. And I just made you and Diana both co-hosts here, in case we're not doing something at 9 o'clock, I'll start recording. But in case I miss people as they join us. But I think you have to start yourself a fresh meeting, Vicki, and not use one of the old ones to do it, I think.
Yeah, and that's why I couldn't add Jessica, right. Linda. Did you add them?
Yeah, I added those to my email groups. Now remember, because that's how you get them to do. What we did the other night with you, Vicki, is we set up your Gmail so that you now have the full Foundations of Faith mailing list. The only two that you don't have are Linda Garner and Jessica Capps. Okay. Because both of those asked during this week that they would like to join our groups emails. Also, somebody, Brian's waiting to get in. Somebody can let Brian in. Shoot, I can't even think. Carolyn Murray also wants to be part of this as well. So she is trying to match new members of the church with Sunday school departments. And of course, the only way to do it, and it looks like we're going to be doing this for a long time. Good morning, Brian. It looks like we're going to be doing this for a long time. So they're going to probably she's probably going to start sending us people who fit our demographic, I guess. So Carolyn, there's 3 people from the church that wanted to be on our mailing lists now.
Does that mean we're special?
Yeah. Okay. All right, in 2 minutes, we'll start recording here, and we'll go through with our prayer requests and prayers and concerns and see how everybody's doing.
Who has a cuckoo clock?
Me.
I like it.
Must be almost time.
I like it.
I think it's 2 minutes fast.
Dennis, how's Colorado?
Diana asked you how Colorado was.
Oh, we're in Amarillo right now. We're on the way. We decided to stop. It's 63 here this morning. It'll be a high of 84. But next weekend here, when we come back through, it'll be 102, just like in Dallas Fort Worth. So it's cool right now, but hot's coming.
It's not that cool in Colorado. No,
it's not that cool. It'll be in the upper 70s, lower 80s, and 54 at night. But but it's still, well, like I say, 80 is still pretty warm for them.
Denver was 95 earlier this week. I can't remember which day, but you're probably a little higher altitude in Colorado Springs.
Well, I didn't realize that Amarillo is at 3,600 feet. So we climbed 3,000 feet yesterday to get in here. So
yeah, I didn't know that either.
It's a cooler place, but it dropped down. Okay, I think it's about that time. I'm gonna start a cloud recording, just so I can make sure I've got this thing. Do you want to stop? Oh, we're cloud recording now. Did you start that, Diana? Thank you.
I did not.
Did Vicki? Somebody started it. Looks like we're recording. So, okay.
I think that's automatic because the only thing on my screen just says stop video. So
yeah, I must have hit something, but at any rate, we're cloud recording now. Okay, well, let's go through and we'll add people as we get them. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Barbara and Don. Good morning, Carrie. Let's start off with concerns and celebrations, and whoever's got the first one, go for it. Jerry, you're muted. And Diane and Vicky, remember you're praying.
yes, I got it.
Okay.
Taking notes.
Oh, I need that. Plus a pen.
I'd like to call your attention to the worship service this morning. This is a celebration because we're going to have a special guest in the worship service. In the worship service this morning, soloist Laurie Diffie is going to be accompanied by Mark Miller. And Mark is president of the Mount Vernon Music Association that's headquartered in Mount Vernon, Texas. And he has been frequently invited by Doug Haney to serve as the concert master for special music. So we are particularly blessed this morning that Mark is willing to help us out one more time. He is a gifted musician. And my prayer request is that we please pray for the staff members who are beginning their new responsibilities as associate ministers. It's going to be very difficult to fill Mark Wingfield's shoes.
I'm sure. I'm so glad, quite frankly, that they are, because if we got what my fear was, quite frankly, with Mark leaving, that we didn't have a good morning, Faye, that we didn't have, and good morning, Bonnie, we didn't have a long-term tenured staff person to kind of carry us through. Now we have 3 of those that are associate pastors to help us, and I think this is going to be a wonderful thing for those 3 associate pastors to do that. That'll be a good thing on that. Any other prayer? Thank you, Jerry. Any other prayer requests?
Ray did go for his appointment on Wednesday, and they ended up checking out both legs, but he still does not know. He still has found out how that went. And one thing that I'm real excited about is a week from tomorrow, I will go see my doctor, my foot doctor, and I will get to get rid of my boot and I will get to start driving again. I'll have some independence again.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Yay. That's great. That is fantastic news. I've got 2 prayer requests. My sister, on July 23rd, she will have been in rehab for 1 year after breaking her hip. She hadn't been home since July 24th, her birthday. And on July 16th, she's going to have her hip replaced because as a Parkinson's and osteoporosis patient, she just did not grow enough bone in the year to do it. So they're going to have to do a hip replacement. And I got to tell you, I'm very nervous about this because she's been a year not being able to walk like she normally does. I mean, she weighs 110 pounds when she went in dripping wet, and she's probably now, I don't know what she is right now, but any rate, that's going to happen on the 16th of July. So I want prayer for that. And then the second one of my coworkers' son is contracted COVID-19 on Friday. He's in Kansas City, or Shawnee, Kansas. But at any rate, his son is asymptomatic. They only found out because one of his friends got it. And he got it from his college-age sister who went to a college party in Lawrence, Kansas. What is K-State there? I don't know what's there, but at any rate, brought it home, and that was a sad thing, for that. So now they can't go see my friends, my coworkers' grandparents because they're afraid that he'll give it to them. But they got weird results yesterday. He tested positive with a blood test, but he tested negative for an antibody test. But he's asymptomatic, so I don't get it yet. So,
how old is he?
He's about 14, 15, something like that.
Oh, a young kid. Okay.
Oh yes.
And how old is your sister?
My sister is 79.
Okay.
Dennis, Linda may know the answer to that, but I think it may take a while for the antibodies to develop after you have it. So
I see.
Okay. I'm not the expert on that, but I believe that your body requires some time to develop the antibodies.
Could very well be. Could very well be. Good morning, Rachel Lane. Okay, so anybody else have a prayer request? And then, Brian?
No, I was just saying hi to the Keiths.
Oh, okay. Okay, hello, Keiths.
We're a little slow this morning, technical difficulties.
Well, I'm glad you're on.
I have a praise. My sister, who's 85 and just moved to California, I've talked about it for that week, but anyway, she turns 85 today.
Wow.
It's so neat.
She's my older sister. So.
What is her name?
Wakey, W-A-K-I-E, Wakey.
Lacey.
Oh, yeah. And Dale had a birthday yesterday.
Yes, yesterday was Dale's birthday.
Dale had a birthday, and Robert had a birthday on Wednesday.
Yes, and thank you so many to come by. Robert and Dale were both sent us a very nice note. They were so appreciative of everyone coming by. That was very nice. And I saw a stack of cards. We were the last ones there, I think. But at any rate, it was it was a weird day for me. But at any rate, that's that they really enjoyed that a lot. Now, let me give you an update on our toilet paper.
Dennis?
Yes.
One more prayer request, just to re-mention Nathan Tatman's co-worker who passed away, Ava.
Yes.
I believe it was the 27th of June. And she did not pass away from COVID. She had some other serious ongoing health conditions, but it's hard because he said she was like everybody's mother there where he works. And so, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and thank you for reminding me of that. Deborah Herford, Laura heard from Deborah yesterday. And she has had 2 or 3 really bad days in a row. She has very low blood pressure. Blood pressure. And I'm sorry, heart rate. She's like 40 something beats per minute or something, really low. So the pacemaker, because of COVID, is probably going to be put off till the end of July. So she's just wanting to hang on until then. But she didn't say that she needed anything else. She'll tell us if she does. But that's kind of where we are with Deborah. So let's go around and just see how everybody's doing. Anybody, Laura Snow, you're doing well, but Ray's not so much.
No, we just don't know the results of them checking out the circulation in his legs on Wednesday. He doesn't know the results of that yet. He went in thinking they were just going to do his right leg, and they decided to do his left leg also. Okay.
And Jerry, are you okay?
Me, Carrie, I am. Tell me, how do I now get video up?
Down on the bottom left.
Bottom left.
See where it says stop video?
No, mine's already stopped. I want to.
Okay, so click on that. Click on the video.
It's not showing. Lower left?
Lower left. There's a thing that looks like a camera, and if you there you go.
There you go, Carrie.
It's lower left of the whole screen, not my picture.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Jerry Baker, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. Do you want me to repeat what I said or earlier? Or
no, just basically, how are you doing? Yeah.
I'm fine. Everything is good. I'm
good.
Thank you.
Good. How about you, Vicki?
Good. My niece got her results from her cat and pet scan, and there are more lymph nodes that are showing the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Boy, that's hard to say. But she's going to see her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma oncologist at the end of the month, and they're going to decide if her doctor there in Niceville or at the Air Force Base doesn't think she needs chemo yet. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. Well, we'll keep her on the list. Okay, how about you, Terry Wade? How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing fine.
Wonderful. Joyce?
We're doing good.
It's very good. Kay and Jim?
We're doing good.
Okay, and Kay, you sent us that nice note on you had extra TP in your garage. Let me give everybody an update from Jessica. There are 3 classes that are trying to raise, to bring in about 500 rolls of paper. And Jessica said we're close to 475 as of last night. Yay. So she's gonna give us an update later on, but I wanted to read this one thing from her. If I could, it was a very nice email to the class. She says, thank you, Foundations of Faith, for caring and sharing with Dallas. It makes one pause to know that individuals are going without some basics just so they can cover their rent, their meds, and their food. This may seem like a small effort that reminds us of the struggle that senior adults are having, and to know, and it's going to give them a feeling that they're not alone, Jessica. So I thought that was a very nice note from Jessica on that. So that we're very, very close to getting everything we've got. So thank you, everybody, for bringing that.
By the 7th, she wants this all by the 7th.
Yes, by the 7th. If you physically can't make it until the 8th, you have to go to the church at 10 a.m. on the 8th. Okay, so yes, be better by the 7th. Okay, let's keep going through. Kay and Jim, I was asking you how you were before, and I interrupted you. So.
No, we're good.
Okay, Jim, you okay?
Oh yeah.
Good. Brian, how about you?
Good. I'm doing fine.
Very good. Diana? You're muted, yeah.
Doing good. I got to do my annual Mecca to the countryside and pick blueberries yesterday, made it back safely. A completely socially distanced opportunity. So
that's wonderful. Wonderful. Faye, how are you and Mark doing?
We're doing good. Everything is good, and my mom is okay. So I have her over here on the weekend for July 4th, and it's all good. Got a lot of fireworks around last night.
Yeah.
The fireworks were terrible.
Yeah.
My dog, my German Shepherd, that's not afraid of anything else, let me tell you, she wouldn't even go outside. We couldn't drag her outside.
And they went so late.
Yes.
It did go on forever.
Like till 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was annoying.
I was wakened at 4:20 Friday morning. The fireworks.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That was a practice session.
My goodness. So Bonnie, how are you and Robert doing?
We're doing good. Thank you.
Good. The Keiths, how are Travis and Patty?
All is well.
We're good.
I like it. And Carrie, you're doing all right?
No, I'm doing all right.
Good. Linda Gelser, how are you?
I'm good. I finally went back to exercise group this week. So they started back. We're outside. We're an outside group. So that was nice. So
wonderful.
I feel like I'm moving a little more strenuously. That feels good.
Wonderful. Sandra Wallace, can you talk?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Very good. Don and Barbara, can you guys talk? I know you can hear us because I get emails from you, but I hope you guys are doing well. And we're glad to see that you're on here with us. And Rachel Lane, I see that you're on here with us. Are you doing okay? You're muted. Yeah, here you go.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Very good. Well, if there's nothing else, let's get started on the class. I know that Terry wanted to start off with some discussion. So Terry, I'm gonna mute everyone.
Hey, Dennis.
And then I'm gonna unmute you, Terry.
Dennis?
Yes.
We should add Tracy. Tracy's in Charlotte this weekend,
yes.
traveling. Put him and you guys on the prayer list for traveling mercies.
Who else besides Tracy?
You and Laura.
Okay, yes, okay. Sorry. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. I'm gonna mute everyone, and then Terry, let's unmute you.
Okay. Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, normally we don't have a title for lessons, but today I think we're going to title this lesson, "What is Job Missing?" because obviously he's missing something. Just a reminder that this book is a wisdom book, which means hopefully we're growing in our understanding about God. The core questions of Job that I mentioned last week can be asked in a variety of ways, but why do we worship God? What kind of God is God? What does a relationship with God mean in terms of how we live our lives? Now, as we know, Job's misfortunes have forced him to re-examine his faith relationship with God. And I guess our first question for discussion is, do you think this is generally when people start to re-examine how they see God or how they see their relationship with God when something not so good happens? So anybody can jump in.
I think so. I mean, they tend to, especially when bad things happen in mass, a lot of people are like, well, why did God let this happen? Or I have seen people who had very strong relationships with God, usually it takes something really bad, but something or a string of things happens and they feel like they're doing everything right. And again, we all know in our heads that that's not it. It's not I did something bad, so something bad happens. But I think that tends to be where people go.
Yeah, it almost becomes a natural reaction sometimes. Somebody else?
I think when bad things happen, it makes us realize that we're not as much in control of our lives as we like to think that we are. And it forces us to look for some kind of like stability. And if you have that faith background, that I think can be, I think a lot of people either go there or they go the opposite way and go off the deep end, like, abandoning what they know in terms of faith, maybe.
Okay. Anyone else? One of the things that came up last week, and we didn't get to it as much as I would have liked probably, is one of the things Job is doing in his lament is asking all these rhetorical questions about why was I born, basically. And while he doesn't criticize God directly, how do you see people today, or do you hear people indirectly blaming God? We may ask the question, why did God let this happen? Or we may be asking it, but what are some other expressions that you hear that might be considered criticisms of God and what he's doing? Let me give you an example. How many times have you heard someone say, I just don't understand why this is happening to me? Or I just don't understand this situation. In other words, that we take on, I don't understand, but we're really sort of saying, what's God, where is God in all of this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, Terry, it does. I kind of wish Bert Truax was on with us this morning. Bert's a new Christian, and they have had, the tornado tear up their condominium. They moved to another place. It got sewer problems and flooded them out, and they had to move again within this, and that in the middle of all the COVID. And his question to me one time on a call was, he didn't understand why, all this stuff was happening to what he considered. He said, I'm not really a great person, but he says, I'm not really a bad person. I don't understand why all this is happening to me and to us. Mm-hmm. So I think he's understanding, but I think he still asked the question.
Dennis, yeah. I talked to Bert, after, I'm going to say maybe 3 weeks ago. And he just talked, he had so much joy. It was so interesting because of everything they'd been through, and we'd all been aware of that. And he said, you know, we've gotten closer to each other. We're actually enjoying this time together, and just everything was so positive. I felt so good, getting to hear him say that, because I knew they'd just been, as we say, to hell and back, really. It had been awful. But he had such a sweet attitude, and you could just tell he just sounded like, he was just so happy about that everything is finally turning out.
Anyone else? Well, when these kinds of things happen, and on the other side of the coin, things can happen where you should be doing something, or you're wondering what you should do. And we're certainly in a time right now in our country with both the pandemic and the racial justice issues. But Job talks about feeling hemmed in by God. He just doesn't seem to know which direction to go. Have you ever experienced that kind of thing where in your head you kind of know what you need to do, but you're not sure you want to do it, and you just feel hemmed in, and you almost feel like it's because of your Christian faith that you're feeling this? Anyone want to take that one on? Well, I guess I can, as a school teacher, there were times when it would have been easier to do something to go along as opposed to do what really was in the best interest of students. And the temptation, feeling hemmed in, that either I was going to have to go out on a limb and hopefully some people would be out there with me, or I might be there by myself. Usually I was very lucky. There were always a few teachers who had the interest of students at heart, as opposed to, there's always what's best for students and what's easier for me as a teacher. That's always the battle, okay? But I would feel hemmed in sometimes that I'm going to have to make a decision here. I'm going to have to break out somehow and do something. And it came because of what I felt that, if I'm going to treat these kids the way God would want me to treat them, So that's what I'm talking about, feeling hemmed in. Job is feeling hemmed in, but he knows something's wrong. Something's not right. And he's going to have to do something. And I'm guessing most of you have felt that way at some time. Something's not right, and you're going to have to do something. And you don't feel like you have a whole lot of choices, that you're going to have to act. And that's where we are sort of with Job. So, and his lament in chapter 3, it really goes to how complete his disorientation is at this point. Everything's been great, and now all of this has happened, and he is totally confused. And really, all of his questions are a quest for meaning, a need for a larger vision of God and a different relationship with God. One of the commentaries talks about how he is awakening from his dogmatic slumbers, particularly about the ideas of this tit-for-tat justice that we mentioned a while ago is, I'm living this good life, why is this happening to me? So he's really dealing with that, and I think we all deal with that kind of thing. Because we have, as we said last week, most of us grew up with a little bit of this thing about, well, if we did something wrong, is God punishing us? Even though we've moved a long way from that for the most part in a lot of theology today. He's going to move to new levels of understanding in these dialogues with his friends as he works through this disorientation. That's what these dialogues are all about. And of course, you know, or you probably remember, there are 3 cycles of dialogues. The friend speaks, and then Job speaks. And his friends are going to present all of those culturally accepted, religiously ordained reasons for why this is happening. The pious, the intellectual, the orthodox, of this idea of retributive justice, that bad things happen because we sin. And that despite his extremely virtuous life, Job has done something that can be perceived as sin. And of course, when Job speaks, he speaks of his integrity, and he does not think that he has sinned. His life is a testimony to generosity and kindness, to ethics, to social justice. In fact, he mentions integrity 4 times during the book. So he is really struggling to understand this idea of justice. But of course, disorientation always involves confusion, and it requires wading through and getting past what we have been taught that we're supposed to believe and how we're supposed to act in order to live our faith relationships. But in these dialogues, what's going to happen is a lot of this subterfuge, if you will, is going to be worked out so that Job is going to be ready when God speaks. So let me, here's a question. How many conversations have you had in your Christian journey that resulted in your getting past something you had been told you had to believe, and you got past it to a purer, simpler view of faith in God, of what God might want? So another way to ask this: how has your view of God adjusted over the years? How has your faith changed? But a lot of it has to do with what did we get past? That the orthodox, the pious, the intellectual view, that we got past in order to get to a purer, simpler view of God. So that's the question for the floor now. Who would like to tackle that? And I think we can get past not going to the movies on Sunday afternoon. You know, that was one I grew up with.
I think for me, it was the baptism decision we had. And I know that sounds so stupid now, but when we were deciding that we were going to accept people's baptism from other denominations, you know, their sprinkling at birth or whatever. And I think the thing that helped me was, and I cannot remember her name, but there was a couple that joined that had been attending our church. She was in choir. She had joined, but he couldn't join because he was a retired Presbyterian minister. And if he was baptized, you know, then he would have been disordained from his, you know, denomination. And I thought, that makes no sense at all, that a guy in retirement years would be unordained by his congregate or by his faith group if he had to be rebaptized. And so, you know, it seemed really ridiculous. And so I just, you know, at that point it was like, okay, if we're adults. I also have seen at Wilshire's a few situations where someone's child has been raised in our church, but the adults were raised in another denomination, and the adults end up getting baptized when their kids get baptized because it has a different meaning for them. So, you know, it just, that to me was one of those things. It's like, really?
Yeah. Someone else? I think Carrie is trying. Carrie? Dennis, I think Carrie's
there
trying.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Linda, similar circumstance for us. I was raised, David was raised in a non-congregational church. I was raised in the Presbyterian church. And when we joined Wilshire, didn't have any option. You were to be baptized by submersion. And it was no problem for me. Our children, the two older children were old enough to witness it and to see it. And I thought it was a good example for them that and what it means. And so we were rebaptized at Wilshire. And, but it was still at that time where we had to be baptized by submersion. And Bruce McKeever asked me if that was a problem. And I said, no, it was not a problem. So anyway, it does, modern day almost, it still happens. And I know that when it started at Wilshire, I was so surprised by some people that came up and did the touching to reaffirm their baptism where they had been christened, sprinkled. And these were people teaching Sunday school and so many things, doing so much in the church.
Someone else? Yeah, there's so many things that we're taught growing up that are denominational versus maybe faith in God. So it might be interesting to think about some of those things that you've gotten past, where you have, as I said, a pure, clearer vision of what faith in God means. Now, I want to give everybody a chance. So does anyone else want to speak to something that they got past?
Terry, I think one thing that our country is trying to get past now is, you know, all the Black Lives Matter, everything, all the racial type things that were fostered by churches maybe 100 years ago, because they kind of went along with the culture. And I think that's our problem. I think that's when they say, when Jesus said, don't be part of the world, I think that's what he's talking about. Not for us not to bring in the values of what society says is right, like they did 150, 200, 300 years ago. And just think about that. That's 8 or 10 or 12 generations that were being taught that. And that's why it's going to take a long time for us to unlearn that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's the irony of the situation is that for African-American folks, the church was the one place they sometimes were safest and could express their faith. And yet, it's somewhat ironic that slave owners wanted to make sure their slaves were Christian, and yet did not realize that it would be in those Christian churches that people were called to a higher vision of what it means to be a child of God. But I think we all, I know the baptism thing has been mentioned, and it's bothered me for a long time because of knowing of good people, faith people who did not feel comfortable in a church because their version of baptism was not. But I think there are some other things too. A lot of them are social things that we were raised with, but some are theological ideas too that we could touch on. But the point is, we move forward, and oftentimes we move forward in our faith because of trials that we go through, that we begin to say, wait a minute, if God is a good God, then I need to be careful about connecting these bad things to him as though they are his fault, without looking at all of the surrounding issues that might be in play, including my attitude in the situation. So Job, as I think I've said, uses the word integrity 4 times during this book and it's associated with faith because he's living such a virtuous life. It's almost, this integrity is almost synonymous with faithfulness, and yet it's not the same. So we've had all these dialogues, and now Job's awareness, his consciousness, his arguments, or why he's right, if you will, have been very well honed. And now God is going to speak. So this disorientation is about to enter another stage. He's going to muse on wisdom in chapter 28, and in 28:18, he says that the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to avoid evil is understanding. But then he comes back in chapters 29 through 31, and he recounts his life before all of the disasters, his high standing, all of, how respected he was, then his downfall and his suffering, and he still restates his innocence. So what's Job missing? Faith-wise, he's about to find out. Job is in a place where God will speak to him and dialogue with him. If you read chapters 38 through 39, God asks some very direct rhetorical questions that affirm his role. It's, I created this and I created that and I did this and I did that. It is a reaffirmation of God as creator. But in chapter 40, the real question comes. The Lord said to Job, will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him. Does the question, who do you think you are, come to mind? It's like God says, who do you think you are? I am God. I am creator. And Job's response in verses 4 and 5 reveals his ability to be humbled before God. He says, I am unworthy. And that's a word that means small and insignificant. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I have no answer. Twice, but I will say no more. And what we have here is what's missing, humility. He's in verses, God speaks again in verse 41, and then in chapter 41, and then in 42, Job says, I know that you can do all things. No plan of yours can be thwarted. You ask, who is this? It obscures my counsel without knowledge. Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. You said, listen now, and I will speak. I will question you, and you shall answer me. My ears have heard you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. So we have him coming to this state of humility. He's a classic example of a believer who is totally committed to living a God-led life. But at some point, his attitude has morphed into pride about his integrity, about his virtuous living, about his devotion to God. It's almost a look at me, see what an outstanding, faithful believer I am. Look at how good I am. Now, because we get all of this information about all these wonderful things that he does, and he talks about them. one of the difficult elements of this story is why God let Job be tested, particularly since he was so good. And it comes down to humility in relationship to God, taking pride in his religious activities, maybe not in his spiritual relationship. Wisdom suggests that in this case, the test came from the pride. So how much of a problem do you see pride, religious pride in people, in denominations? You know, is God testing us, or does our self-satisfaction about how we're living our lives become test situations that are maybe what we're doing? We're exhibiting all the outward forms, but there's something missing inside. So what do you think about, that's a long way to ask a question about pride, religious pride. Do you want to touch that one with a 10-foot pole?
I think that there's a lot of religious pride, and I think we see a lot of it today in how we're trying to weave politics into our faith. I think that's prideful. And also to, you know, I'm embarrassed to see how many Christians we see on television with these crowds and stuff, and they say, oh, we're going to rely on God to protect us. We don't need a mask. I'm like, okay, God also gave you a brain. What do you do with that one? God has,
my thought exactly.
So what do we do about that? So I think that's prideful.
Okay. So a lot of Christians are doing, and Wilshire certainly is trying to do everything they can to help. But how easy would it be for doing all of this to help kind of morphs into aren't I good kind of thing, instead of aren't I fortunate that I don't need this kind of help? Where's the humility that would be in doing all of these things, whether it's getting toilet paper or deodorant or all of the things that the church was doing, you know, like those sleepovers for the homeless women, you know. Pride is that point at which the focus becomes on what I'm doing instead of on the people for whom I'm doing it. Does that make sense? Some other examples where you see pride being a problem or for churches or for Christians or for denominations?
I think, well, I went to a church that was very proud of itself. And the members of the church always talked about how wonderful the church was. And it ended up having a pastor come, and the church kind of shot darts at each other over certain issues. And the church really suffered. And I think part of that was because everyone was so proud of the church, but not looking at what the church was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. I think that can happen to churches, you know, and then as if somebody comes in and tries to lead, then you begin to get these conflicts because it becomes more about the church member than it does about the service of the church. It's more about the church serving them than them serving God through the church. Does that make sense? I think that can happen a lot of times. That we have we have some churches, what I call them feel-good churches. You go and you feel really good for being there, and almost a pride that you're there, but it doesn't go outside the church doors except to make the individual feel good. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but hopefully the church stands to challenge us to be more the people God would have us be. But that's why the humility thing becomes so important, because humility allows you to be open to change, that you don't have all of the answers. I think we can pretty well know that humility is required by God for his followers. God wants us pointing toward him and what he wants for the good of all of us. The Old Testament is full of examples of pride going for a fall. And if we claim faith in God, then God is the source of what good we do, what virtues we exhibit. Does that make sense? You know, that may be what Job forgot. All of those virtues that he was exhibiting, he kind of forgot that they came from God, and that he wouldn't be doing them without God. Very much like all of us. Whatever we do, whatever good we do, hopefully comes out of our commitment to the way Jesus taught us to live, and what is the will of God in terms of loving him, honoring him, and then loving our neighbor as ourselves. So I mentioned last week that Brugman suggests that wisdom literature raises our consciousness or our awareness that allows us to accept mystery, which is the essence of faith. We cannot have all of the answers, even though Job certainly felt like he had most of them until that confrontation with God. But there is an acceptance of the mystical quality of the mystery, and that requires humility. And that's very hard for Western cultures. You know, we have 400 years of the age of reason, the age of enlightenment, where if we just experiment enough, we will get the answers. And we tend to want answers, but we can know from Job and multiple other examples in the Bible that humility is essential to a faith relationship with God. You know, Job, he seems to have gotten that mercy and justice thing, which expressed themselves in all of those outward virtues. But now he has added walking humbly with God, which is an internal attitude that gets expressed in how we do these outward things. So Job's faith has taken a leap forward into a purer faith relationship with God, which is, of course, symbolized by the restoration of everything that he lost in chapter 2. Job has come to a new normal. He has been reoriented to what God wants from us and from him. He has, as I said, he has a new normal, which he can live his life by, and it's humility. So he found what was missing. Thank y'all.
Wonderful.
Thank you for all your discussion.
Well, thank you, Terry. We appreciate it. And Vicki, if you'll close us in prayer now, we'll see you, and hope everyone has a wonderful week. You're muting yourself.
Okay, sorry. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just praise your holy name today, and we just thank you for the many, many blessings that you provide for us every day. We thank you for Jesus and the cross and what it really means to us personally. Thank you for these precious people that We can share our faith. We can share our concerns. We can share our joys. I just thank you for these special friends, what they mean to me, what they mean to you, and what we mean to each other. Lord, we have a lot of concerns today, and I just pray that you will hear our prayer today. And I know that you care, and I know that you see to our every need. We just don't always have the exact answer we're expecting, but we know that you care and you're listening and you do provide. So I thank you for that. I just pray, Lord, that you will be with our staff as we make these transitions starting this week, that everything will fall into place and everybody will do their jobs well, and I know they're prepared. I just pray that you will bless them in that endeavor. Pray that you'll be with Ray, that the results that he gets back from the test, circulation test on his legs, he will get good results, good diagnosis from that, and he will get the answers that he needs. Pray that you'll be with Dennis and Laura as they travel, and Tracy as he travels. Just give him travel mercies, please. Keep him safe from physical harm and keep them safe from the virus as they move from place to place. Pray that you'll be with Dennis's sister in her hip replacement surgery the 16th, that you'll just protect her, provide the doctor that will do the best job for her, and that the surgery will be a success. We know at times like this, we really need to just depend on you for that. Pray that you be Dennis's co-worker's son. This is so scary when you're so young, and just pray that would all turn out okay, that it wouldn't be something debilitating, and that he would have a recovery or not completely succumb to that. Pray that you will be with Nate as he deals with the death of a co-worker, very young. That's always really scary. I just pray that you would comfort those people in the office that have had to deal with that. Others, Lord, Deborah, for example, Lord, I know that this low heart rate is scary. I have the same thing. I just pray that her pacemaker can be, that they don't delay that too long, and that can be done as soon as possible. I guess they're waiting for the hospital to clear out with the people with COVID and make it safer for her. So I just pray that they don't wait too long. So keep her comfortable and safe until that time comes. I know that Carolyn's already in Colorado, so I pray that they have a great time together. I know she has friends going to visit, so I pray that they'll have a great time together. I'm praising you for my sister's birthday today. 85 is a big number, so I just pray that you'll keep her healthy and safe and enjoy the rest of her life with the daughter. I'm thankful that Laura's continuing to heal her foot. We thank you that Robert and Dale both had good birthday celebrations this week. We thank you for that. We're glad that Bonnie and Robert are back in town. We're really thankful for our healthcare workers, for Diane and Deborah and Kim and Linda Garner and so many, Lord, that are in this, and Linda Gessler. So thank you for these people, Lord, who really can be exposed every day in their work. So please protect them. And I just pray that you would protect us from this virus personally and in our families and in our county, Lord. I just pray that these numbers will start to really decrease and the testing numbers just keep going up. And I just pray that, the positive test. And I just pray, Lord, that you would just take charge of this and help this number to decrease so that everyone will feel safer and everyone will be safer. Lord, again, we just praise your name. We thank you for all the many blessings. We thank you for the good health we do enjoy. We thank you for Wilshire and what it means to us and the strength that we have continuing to meet and watching live stream, and today having the Lord's Supper. Lord, is just a real special day, and I pray that you will just help us all to be a part of that and to really feel your love and your closeness. And thank you for your Holy Spirit who abides in us in everything we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
You all be safe.
Okay, thank you. Will do.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody have a good week.
Yes. Go for it. Start moving.
Dennis, I'll just leave this running for a while.
Yeah, just let it run for a while, a little bit. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.